all your ammo out at once. I think that's so important. Just some things to remember. So we're about to do our panel. We're kind of zooming through now because it's almost 1:00 and it was supposed to be over at 1, but these things don't always go as planned. I am super excited to host this panel with 3 amazing women. Victoria King, she's the co-host, and she's also co-hosting the summit as well, but she is also a panelist. And then I'm going to read the bios of the other 2 women on the panel, and then we're just going to get right into it. Okay, so we have Brooke Larkin, and she was born and raised in Southern California, where she was taught conservative Christian values through her family and her home church. Brooke has been married for almost 2 years to the love of her life, Daniel, and lives in Charlotte with him and the crazy cat Gucci. Brooke received her bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies with a focus in government and business administration from Liberty University. And growing up, Brooke knew that she wanted to work in the pro-life movement, but she was unsure in what capacity until she found Students for Life of America. Brooke now works full-time as a Southeast Regional Coordinator of Students for Life of America, where she cultivates student and community relations in the Carolinas and Georgia. So thank you so much, Brooke, for coming on. Our next panelist is Catherine Whiteford, and she is a native Texan, another Texan, turned North Carolinian based in Concord. When selected as a state chair of the North Carolina Federation of Young Republicans, she was one of the youngest state chairs in the country. And under Chairman Whiteford's leadership, the NCYRs have increased state chapters by over 200%, membership by over 300%, and they have helped the NCYRs play a key role in winning 8 races across the state, as well as organizing over 1.1 million voter contacts done by the Young Republicans in North Carolina in 2020. One of the most important issues she focused on is higher education reform, which she has successfully passed resolutions on by the Harris County GOP, the Texas Federation of Young Republicans, the North Carolina Federation of Young Republicans, the Young Republican National Federation, as well as being the inspiration for Texas House Bill 1232 and the 2017 Texas legislation session. Her other major focuses are outreach to different ethnic groups. Being a biracial Republican of Chinese and Caucasian descent, it's very important to her that we educate others on fiscal conservatism and why our country having those values is crucial to our everyday freedoms and the ability to our own self-starters and entrepreneurs. Thank you, Catherine, for coming on. Okay, you guys, as you heard, we have some very, very, very qualified women to talk about these questions that I have. I just have a couple of questions that you guys can all answer or however you feel led to answer. And it's really just about why we are here in the sense of like, everybody watching pretty much is interested in somehow being interested in government in a capacity. And we're all women. We're all women and we're interested in making a difference. So the first question is a simple question. Why do we need women in this space of politics? Whoever wants to answer can answer first.
Okay, I don't mind answering first. By the way, Brooke and I apparently got the same memo with a pink blazer, which I find hilarious. But I really appreciate you guys having me on today. So you said, why do we need more women in politics or women in just in general in politics? For me, I feel like, we need to have people who, is somebody who can be a role model to us and somebody where I can see that person be like, well, maybe that could be me. And so like for me, when I was in Texas, at the time she was just a candidate, but she was running to be my state house representative, Valerie Swanson. And I was 18 at the time. And as you alluded to, she wrote a House bill on the idea. And that was her first House bill that she filed. But that just stemmed from a single conversation with her where I was like, hey, this is something that I'm really passionate about. And I would really appreciate if that's something that you could look into. And, it didn't actually get passed, but it was still something where she felt that it was important enough to make it the first thing that she brought forward as an incoming state rep. And to me, that just lit a fire under me because, eventually I'd like to be that person where an 18-year-old kid comes to me and I can be that person that inspires them to pursue politics. The other thing is, having people like Congressman Kat Kamik over in Florida, who's 33 and now the youngest GOP female congressman. And I think women just in general, like, we have different perspectives than men. We have different worldviews. We have different struggles than men, even in just the political sphere by itself. And I think the liberal media would have you think that the only young conservatives or not young conservatives, the only young people there are in politics are AOC and people like that. And we really need to have more young conservative women that are champions for us. And, we have great congressmen like Madison Cawthorn and other young men who are running, but we really need to have more young women who are also championing us.
Great. Sorry about that.
I think Brooke was wanting to answer too.
Okay,
I was just going to say that was a lot of what I was going to say too, Catherine. And I agree, men and women are just so different. And I think it's so important that we have those different perspectives out there and we're bringing our skill sets to the different spaces where we're at. So I think it's so important that we have, both genders and different ethnicities and different ages, because we just all have such vastly different perspectives to bring to the workspace too.
Yeah, I kind of going off of that. I mean, women make up 50%, in theory, women make up 50% of people in our country. We all have different, women are different than men. We have period. We have, reproductive health. There's stuff that men don't think about when they're making laws that women think about. A lot of it, health, school, stuff like that. And that's why we need to have women in government, because there are things that I think of that my husband doesn't think of because of my experiences being a woman. So that's why I believe we need more, we need women in politics.
Yes, sorry, you guys. Someone was saying they couldn't hear, so I was trying to.
Yeah, I double checked everything. So
okay, so maybe it's them. But yes, everything you guys said, I agree with. I think it is so important for women to be in this space, and you guys pretty much said everything that needed to be said. So my next question is, how do we get more women involved? Because the reality is, it's still. We've got this past year we've done well, but it's still not at least 50-50, or it's getting there, but it's not quite there. How do we get more women involved?
Well, it's also not 50-50 when it comes to conservative women too.
It's
majority liberal women. But I think, Catherine or Brooke, if you want to answer this.
Well, I was just going to say, I was raised on the values and principles of you can do anything you set your mind to.
Me too.
I hear so many women say I grew up being told you can't do that because you're a woman. And that's not how I was raised at all. My family taught me whatever you want to do, put your mind to it and you can achieve that. And I think that it really just comes down to education and finding something that you're passionate about. I'm specifically involved in the pro-life realm, but I'm also a member of the Mecklenburg County Young Republicans. I'm a Mecklenburg County GOP delegate. So I think it's really important to get involved in those different things that you're passionate about. And I think at this point, it's probably just education on that. Young girls don't know that they're passionate about that because they haven't heard about these things. So if we can start that education at a young age. I was raised in a very politically involved church. So I feel from probably high school, I was told about all these things and I was really made aware of the truth that the Bible teaches, but also how that leads into politics too. So that lit a flame inside of me, which is why I got involved. And I think if we as women keep doing things like this and keep using our voice, we will see other young Christian conservative women standing up.
Catherine?
Yeah, so for me, I wasn't politically involved, even though my dad was extremely just abreast to everything that was going on. But as a pastor, he didn't have the time to be going to precinct meetings, but it was from a single conversation with my dad that made me involved, and where I was complaining about higher ed and all you heard was Bernie Sanders bringing up free college, and I didn't hear any Republicans talking about it. especially on a federal level. And he basically just told me, Catherine, instead of complaining about it, you should go out and do something. And he was like, this is when your precinct meeting is going to happen. You should go. And that's kind of just when it all happened to me. But I guess, how do we get more women in politics? I feel like having more women in leadership positions will make more women feel comfortable. I'm really glad that Victoria is leading the Guilford County Young Republicans. I think, it's whether or not this is true, I hope that because me being state chair has made more women feel like they can also be, the next person after me, that it doesn't have to be some older guy or something. It can be a young woman. And, I was the youngest state chair at the time. I don't really look like the average I'm not I guess I'm not fully white. People are like, what are you? So I feel like there's a little bit of that where I'm a little bit different. And people are like, hey, that I'm a little bit different too. But I think, especially in Republican politics, and it's probably true in Democrat politics as well, but there's a lot of men in politics. And there's a lot of men who, think, well, I can be that person that runs. And it takes, women to be encouraged to get involved, women to be encouraged that, hey, you can do this too. And don't just run for secretary, run for chair, run for political office. So I feel like, women encouraging women is extremely important. Having less cattiness. Unfortunately, even though we say this, there's still a bunch of cattiness among the different groups. And, I just think we need to be more encouraging. Don't be afraid, even if somebody tells you, hey, maybe you should wait your turn, or maybe you shouldn't do this right now. Madison Cawthorn didn't wait his turn. There's other people who haven't waited their turn, but he didn't listen to those people who told him he should. And so I know sometimes for us women, it's like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't then. But you just have to go through and be like, I can do this, and surround yourself with people who are going to encourage that, and work twice or three times as hard, because it's not going to be given to you. And with me running for state chair, I was called every single thing that was stereotypical about a woman to try to get people not to vote for me. People saying that I was sleeping my way to the top, and that's how I've gotten to where I'm at. That I'm a lesbian somehow, which no, I'm not. Not that matters though. But it was just a lot of things that it's only because I was a woman that was being brought up. And
yeah.
So, yeah.
Sorry. I was going to say, I think it's important. There's some, I don't remember exactly what it is, but I remember my mom telling me when I applied to jobs, she goes, a woman will only apply to a job if they're 100% qualified for that job. A man will apply for a job if they're only 70% qualified, or 50 to 70%. I don't remember exact statistics. I think it's the same with politics. We as women, we only get involved if we know that we 100% have people behind us. Men will get involved and step on people's shoes. Like you said, with Madison, he didn't have the support. People told him not to run, but he did it anyway because he really felt like a calling. So that's kind of where, as women, we need to take that extra step. It doesn't have to be a perfect time to run, but it's pretty much perfect. So why not go ahead and do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, everything you guys said, once again, is really good. And I do want to piggyback off of pretty much summarizing what you guys said. Really summarizing what Victoria said, we women have this chance now. We can do it. We just need to work on. So one thing that you said was cattiness, Catherine, and I really do want that to stop. If you're watching, that stops with you, and it stops right now. There is so much space for everyone. We can all have some sort of role. We just work together, and to plug those other girls one last time, that is one thing that we want. We want us all to work together. If there's anything anybody watching wants to do, we are in this together. We don't have to do with the cattiness. And then also too, we can do anything. And I love, and I also find it very interesting that, and Catherine, you said you grew up pretty much being told you can do anything too, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was actually finding somebody in the Young Republicans who became my mentor. Because my parents, they did, but they weren't the people that really encouraged me. They were kind of tacitly supportive of everything.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, though, it does seem like we all had people in our lives that were just go ahead and do it. Just do it. we're all in some sort of leadership position in our various walks of life, or even the fact that we're doing this. So I think that also too, the people watching, those of you listening, if you can find people in your life who might not have that, as Brooke said, education, that might not have that to encouragement, you be that encourager for them. Caroline mentioned about being mentors and mentees. We have that ability now. Like, we can do that. We can do that for people who don't even live in our same state. So great. All right. So next question. I'm trying to, we have 6 questions, but we're not going to do all 6. Just to get saucy, I want to ask this question. What are your thoughts on a woman president? Whoever wants to go first can go first.
I love it. I mean, why not? Like, women can do anything that, well, women can do, have any opportunity that a man can do. Like, there's certain things physically we can't do. That's not what I'm meaning. But, like, why not? Like, we're educated. We have a lot more different, like, we have new experiences we can bring forth. Women have been in politics for, I think, over 100 years now. I think we had on our trivia, like, the first woman elected to office was, like, in, like, the 1910s. So why not? I think we need to have a good qualified woman. Like, I don't think we need to elect a woman because she's a woman. I think we need to elect the best person for the job, regardless, man, woman, black, white, Asian, Latino. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care. I only care about your resume and if you're going to do what's best for this country.
That one. I was like, yeah, amen to that one. I totally agree with everything you just said. I just wanted to second that whoever's most qualified, like, I don't care what gender you are, what color you are, like, if you're qualified and you're going to make America the best country in the world, like it already is, then I'm going to support you. So
I think it's good to point out, though, like, with Kamala Harris, the issue I had with Kamala Harris is Joe Biden only picked her for VP because she was black and a woman. He did not pick her for her qualifications. Like, she does have great qualifications, don't get me wrong. Like, she was district attorney. She was, like, she has that. I don't agree with what she says, but, like, let's look at the resume. Yeah, she has the resume.
Yeah, she checks the boxes. Yeah,
she checks the boxes.
Same with Hillary Clinton, too.
Yeah. Checks the boxes, has the resume, but people only supported her because of her race, because of her gender, and that's not what I'm for. I want to support you because I believe that you know how to get stuff done and that you'll put our country first and do what's best for our country. Catherine, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to agree with what you said. And I guess the obvious thing would be that I would love for the first woman president to be a Republican. So
me too. Republicans were the ones behind the women's voting rights movement, not Democrats, believe it or not.
Oh, that's honestly a really good fact. I did not know. So that's very interesting. I love that.
The Republicans were behind abolitionists. They were behind women's voting rights. Yeah, I mean, they've been behind, I would say, probably the first feminist movement until, like, the crazy feminists in the 1970s.
Wow. And, that is just another way that people have twisted history and that our culture has allowed for different mindsets and things to take over, because the reality of the situation is Republican values are supportive of women. We do love and we do care and we do value women. All of the things that we have, I mean, pro-life, Second Amendment rights, free enterprise, all of these things, capitalism, they help and benefit women. And the left has just decided to, I don't know,
I would say, like, the Republican Party, the Republican Party is the first party to treat women as equals. The Republican Party is the first to treat people of color of equals, not the Democrats, believe it or not. The Republican Party were trying to push civil rights movements throughout, like before Democrats did it in the 60s. It was a Republican move. They tried multiple times. The Democrats would not allow it. The only reason why the Democrats allowed it is because they wanted that voting chunk, and they realized how important that voting chunk would be. It wasn't for to make those people lives better. It was for, we just want the votes. And that's what they've gotten since the Civil Rights Act moved.
And, this is a good transition to the last question I want to ask. And that is, what can we do so everyone listening now feels empowered? They've heard speakers all day. They've heard the panel. They heard why it's so important for them to be involved. What are some steps that they could do? And you guys can talk about your specific organizations that you work with. And you can also talk about other things, anything that you think would be beneficial for everyone listening.
Yeah, so I can be the first one for this one. So obviously, if you're between the ages of 18 and 40, it doesn't matter if you're in the state of North Carolina, because this is a national thing. Get involved with the Young Republicans if you're between the ages of 18 and 40. The whole goal of the organization is to recruit, train, and elect Republicans. And we're trying to help facilitate and encourage and be the people behind young people running for office. Or if people just want to make conservative friends, or they want to find connections to work in politics, it's a really great place to get your start. So for me, I didn't really have very many friends because I was homeschooled before. And so when I got involved with Young Republicans at 18, it really opened up my world to a lot of different thoughts and ideas and different types of Republicans that I had never been exposed to before. But get involved. If you're in North Carolina, you can check out our website, ncyoungrepublicans.com. And we have a list of all of our chapters on there. So you can actually just go straight from our website to your local chapter. And then if you're in a different state, I think YRNF, I think it's just YRNF. So look up YRNF for a national organization. And they'll have all of the states that are currently federated. And maybe if your state isn't federated, you can be the person who starts that state chapter. So get involved with that. And, Republican women, since we're all women, get involved with the Republican women. Not unfortunately, but there's a lot of older women that are involved with the Republican women. And so I think that, it takes us to kind of mix it up a little bit and bring some more young conservative women into those organizations as well.
And they want young women in because they know their time's unfortunately going to be up eventually. So they need someone to carry the torch. And that's why you shouldn't be afraid to get involved, because both Republicans and Democrats, there's older people that are kind of making the decisions, but they do realize that, I'm not going to be here forever. We need new blood to come in. So that's why you shouldn't be afraid to get involved in your local party, your local Young Republicans, your college Republicans on your college campuses. Check to see if your college campus has a college Republicans chapter. If not, start it. I think something, that's great. And I don't know if Catherine knows this, but there is a slate running for the North Carolina Federation of College Republicans that will have a woman chair if that slate wins. And I have to say it's probably because of Catherine, because they see that women can be empowered and have success. I think that's the biggest thing that we've seen with Catherine being our chairwoman the last 2 years is how many chapters, what is it, 400% increase in chapters, Catherine?
Yeah, we had 8 chapters before I started. Now we have 30.
Yeah. And how many, we've had over 1 million door contacts. It's just it's great to see a woman have success in the roles, to show that look, you can do well. You don't have to be a man to have success in politics. Anyone can have success in politics, whether you're rich or poor. Unfortunately, AOC shows that. You can come of background of being a bartender and have unfortunate success in politics for her, because we don't believe in what she does. But it is we do need role models, Republican conservative women role models like AOC, but we need it for Republican women. And for a generation that, for a female, you don't have to be a liberal. You don't have to be a Democrat. You can be a female Republican leader. It's not just Democrats.
One quick thing too: if there's a woman that's running for political office that's near you, try to volunteer for that person's campaign and support that person.
Yep, agreed.
A way that you can get involved in the pro-life movement, obviously, like Mallory said, I'm the Southeast Regional Coordinator for Students for Life, but we are a national organization, so we are in all 50 states across the country. And so if you are in middle school, high school, or college, you can start a pro-life club on your campus, and we are able to give you the tools and resources to do that. We have trainings, we have handout cards, we have everything to set you up for success with that. And then we also have Pro-Life Future as well, which is like a young adults pro-life group. Mallory and I just launched one in Charlotte. It's really awesome. And we have the 5 pillars of activism as well. Just different ways to be a well-rounded pro-life activist, which involves, or it includes supportive services like getting involved with your local pregnancy center, basically just bringing those resources to the pregnant and parenting women on your campus and in your community. We do industry impact, which is kicking Planned Parenthood off of your campus or out of your community through sidewalk counseling, prayer walks, just different ways to impact the abortion industry in that way. We do public policy, which is lobbying. We do phone banking. We did a ton of door knocking last year for the election, and just making sure that we are electing pro-life officials or pro-life candidates. So that it's nonpartisan. As long as they're 100% pro-life, then we will get behind them. We do effective education, which is having those conversations about abortion, whether it's online or on campus, hopefully when everybody's back in person. And then the last one is rapid response, which the abortion industry, unfortunately, they're great with marketing. They are great with being quick on their feet. Planned Parenthood has got it down. And we, as the pro-life generation, we have to be quick to respond as well. So that's rapid response. It could be any of the other pillars, but just responding to whatever you're seeing on your campus or in your community as well. So if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. You can find my information either on Facebook, Instagram, Students for Life, the website. I'm on all of those. So let me know if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you, ladies, so much. I honestly would love to do another panel. It's almost 1:30, but that's okay. I'm really glad we did this, but I honestly would like to do another panel and get a little bit more in depth, because part of the reason why I asked Catherine and Brooke are they're both leaders. And I mean, they both have grown their organizations significantly. They both are in the community. They both do the work, which is just a side note, something that I find incredibly important for those of us who are going to say that we are conservative, for those of us who are going to say we're Christian. If you're going to say you're pro-life, if you're going to say X, Y, Z online, you should be doing the work offline as well. And, they were talking about door knocking. It's funny. Last year I door knocked with YR and I door knocked with Students for Life. It's all about like actually doing things, part of our thing is we are not just talking about culture, but we're changing culture. You don't just talk about caring about X, Y, and Z, you do something about it. And I really hope everyone listening will take on that mindset, because there are a lot of people, there's a lot of, I'll just tell you, there's a lot of people who just like to do things online and they don't get offline and do the work. And these women are doing it, and they work very, very hard. And thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Please, if you can, reach out to them, get involved. And one thing about what Victoria said too was, they want you in their clubs. If you don't know, I am part of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Republican Women's Club. And I'm the member chair, and I literally just walked in and I was friendly, and then somehow now I'm on the board. So it's just about, and also too, like Victoria said, they love us. Shout out to Miss Linda. I don't know if you're watching, but love her to death. And she is probably my biggest supporter ever. And she's the sweetest. People love that. People want, and we also have different mindsets. When I was on the retreat, so I'm also the PR for the Mecklenburg County GOP. When we were on our retreat, I just simply turned the TV on and everybody's like, oh my goodness. The TV, it was a little bit complicated, but the whole point was, it was something I thought was so simple. Everyone's, oh my gosh, this is it. This is why we have young people. Wow, you're amazing. So people want you there. Like, and also too, like Victoria said, like it's a lot of involved in your GOP. If you walk in, it is going to be a 50+ club. And oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, go ahead. I'll add something after that.
Okay, it's going to be a 50+ club, and then it's going to be like 70% men. So us coming in is going to make a difference. Part of the reason why we like we don't shy away from diversity, especially diversity of thought. Part of the reason why we like that is because, for example, something as simple as the TV, we need the TV for something. Something as simple as the TV, it can help make a change. Something as simple as, you know what, I'm the super friendly face. I'm the member chair, so I'm the super friendly face. And, you know, someone made a comment. Part of the reason why I joined is because she was so sweet. And not saying that an older woman couldn't do that, but like that's why you get someone else to come in. That's why we all work together. Because at the end of the day, we all have the same goal. And that is to help America. That is, we love our country. We want to help. And also too, we feel called. I think everybody here probably feels called to what they do. And that calling comes from God. And that is why we're doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, that's it. Go ahead, Victoria.
I was going to say, kind of adding on to that, like people feel comfortable when they see someone that looks like them, whether it's their age, their gender, unfortunately, their skin color too. Like they feel comfortable when they see someone like them. And yeah, maybe you don't see anyone your age there, but you could be the first one and then bring other people along with your age. I know here in Guilford County, we had, rest in peace, Troy Lawson, but he was our first African-American chair and brought a lot of diversity in because people saw someone that looked like them in leadership. Last thing I'll mention is that get involved with your local parties. So like your county parties. I know North Carolina, we've had a lot of places have already had their precinct meetings and county conventions, but that's like a great way to get involved, get in leadership. I also know if these conventions have already happened and you still want a leadership position, they're always looking for people, specifically social media chairs. Because I know, like, I'm the social media chair for my county. Mallory is for hers. And, I mean, there needs to be, like, the Democrats have done a great job on social media. It's because they do have young people involved that know how to use social media. So, if you are a young person that wants to get involved, social media is a very easy thing to do because a lot of it's just resharing posts from your local politicians.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, and then we probably should wrap up. There's always a position open. Yes. Unfortunately, people don't volunteer. Or they don't have time. They don't want to. A lot of people just talk. There's always a position open. For example, at precinct meetings, I know in Mecklenburg County, there was certain precincts where nobody showed up. So if you find out that is how it was in your county, you're now the chairperson. And that's a good thing. That's not, I mean, it can be a little intimidating. That's how I got chair
my precinct. They're like, oh, nobody's in G43. There you go. I'm like, crap. Another thing I had on.
No, but like, that's how it, like, if you're tired, you want a leadership position, go ahead. I bet you 9 times out of 10, you don't have someone, because that's just, and also people don't really know about that, which is something that I think we should work on. And hopefully Victoria and I are going to do a little bit better next year when things come to try to educate people. So people don't know about it, so they don't show up. So I bet you if you call 9 times out of 10, especially if you're in a district that is minority Democrat led, majority Democrat led, you probably don't have a chairman. And now you can add that to your resume. Now you can be that person. So you guys, everyone, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry we went 30 minutes over, but honestly, I think it's been really good conversations and it's been really, really good speeches from the beginning. This is our very first ever summit. And honestly, I think this was very successful, not to brag on us, but I think it was pretty successful. And I think that all of our speakers had something. It was the same theme, but they had something different and unique to say. And that, I think, made this so powerful. I think that from the beginning to the end, you guys were able to hear something that you could have resonated with. I hope you took notes. I took tons of notes. Like I said, I'm just a note taker, but I took tons of notes.